All right. Did you finish? Okay. I thought I saw that like. All right, let's talk a little bit about describing and analyzing. I sent everybody a remind message. If you are not planning on continuing dual enrollment, if you can send me a message just so that I know who is going to be here next semester and who is not going to be here next semester. Okay. All right, so we're going to be talking about the difference between describing, which is summary, and then interpreting, which is making assumptions and claims. So kind of build on what we talked about the other day. So I have given you guys all in your Google Classroom a Word document, and I want for you to just write a descriptive summary of what you guys just read. Okay, so if you need to reference back to the text, then go ahead and do that. Just to take a few minutes and write a descriptive summary. And so I will go ahead and set a timer for 4 minutes. Of course. All right, we've got about 45 seconds left. All right. So we've written a summary. And so in the very least, your summary should have a signal phrase, which in this case is in the second chapter of Skipping Christmas. So a signal phrase kind of lets your reader know what is it that you're summarizing, okay? So you want to make sure that if you don't have that part in your summary that we want to throw that in, okay? And then I want to be able to see the beginning, the middle, and the end, right? And so what happens at the beginning of the chapter? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, she's sad. Nora's upset. She wants to talk to him, but he avoids it, right? And then after she falls asleep, he gets up and does what? He calculates. And so now we see why Luther is obsessed with money, right? He's an accountant. So he has realized that they spent $6,100 last year on Christmas, which is a lot of money, right? If you think about it. But it's definitely easy just for everything to add up at Christmas time. So he realizes that. And then what's the middle? Right. So before that part, he goes to the travel agency, right? So he'd say he went to the travel agency and then he gathers evidence to kind of make it so that he can really sell this idea. Okay. And then what happens at the end? She does. What happens first? There's some back and forth that happens, right? He comes home at dinner. She doesn't, she's resistant. He still wants to do it. Okay. So in the very bare bones, I would have these three sentences. Luther and Nora go home. It's a restless night. And Luther gets up to see how much they sent on Christmas last year, which is $6,100. He goes to the travel agent the next day and convinced that he needs to go on a cruise. And then he comes home at dinner and introduces the idea to Nora. At first she's resistant, but then she agrees after the charitable giving. So I could definitely add some more detail, but I want to make sure that at least my summary has these elements of what just happened in the text. So in other words, a summary, as we're getting comfortable seeing, is that it's just a retelling of what you've read. Okay. The difference is with analysis is it is examining the author's craft and purpose. When you do an analysis, you have to use those facts that we just got to use from our text as evidence. However, that evidence is going to be used to support our arguments that we're going to make, not make them for us. We want to make sure that your summary has all the necessary facts that we just talked about, this from the chapter. And so what I want you to do is just to look back over what you wrote. Does what you wrote just have facts? Have you analyzed it all? Have you started to talk about anyone's character motivation or anything like that in your summary? So take a look and just make sure. And if you've noticed that you started to do it, you started doing a little analysis, go ahead and highlight that analysis for yourself just so that you can kind of see it. So just take a look for facts. So how do we feel? How many people have solid just facts? Okay. How many people have a little analysis mixed in? No, that's a fact, right? Okay. The text tells us that, well, he infers that she's upset, but our text does explicitly say she's tossing and turning. She wants to talk. All right. So tell me, look at this picture and describe what do you see going on in this photo? What's happening? This guy stressed. Okay. Is that description? Okay. His hands on his face is description. Stressed is analysis. Catch yourself? Yeah. So what other ways can we describe what we see in this photo? We see a guy, his eyes are closed, his hands on his face. How else can we describe? He's wearing all gray. Okay. His jacket's just kind of hanging out. He doesn't actually have it on. Okay. Is he asleep? Or can we say he's asleep, or can we just say his eyes are closed? His eyes are closed. Okay, good. Now let's interpret what's happening. What do we see? What all things can we infer, analyze, make arguments about? He looks tired. You said he looks stressed. Okay, all right, if you were going to push the argument of him looking stressed versus tired, what's your proof?
I do the same thing whenever I'm stressed.
Okay, so like you can bring personal experience to it. You can say, I do this. Like we can say he's like maybe has a headache. He's got some tension going on there. Okay. How many people go the sleepy route? Think he's sleepy? You can be tired and stressed at the same time. What does wearing all gray tell us? He's bummed out, right? Like we also have this really high contrast between like the ultra paleness of his skin and then the fact that he's wearing all of these gray drab clothes. So we could really like make some inferences, make some arguments about this dude based on just what we're seeing. All right, let's try it again. Describe what we see in this picture. She's holding a watermelon, and what was very bright? Her clothes, yes. Lots of bright image. Okay. What else? Yes, the background is blurry, but we still get a nice light. What kind of time of year do we think this maybe is based on her shirt? Summertime. Okay. Her eyes are squinted. What does that make you think she's doing? Smiling. Okay. Anything else that we can describe from this picture? She has a tattoo. Yeah, she does. Okay, good. Right? Like, so it's not necessarily a formal picture, right? Okay. She's wearing overalls. Okay, good. Now, what do we think interpretive is happening in this picture? So if she's smiling, then what can we infer about her? That she's happy for some reason. Okay, good. What else?
She's older.
Okay. She has to be at least 18, right? Or like had her parents' permission, I guess, at 16 to get a tattoo. Yes. What kind of time of year do you think this is? Summer. It's particularly what type of summer? What time do we eat watermelon traditionally? July. Maybe it's the 4th of July. She's wearing all red. It's definitely bright and light out there. Okay. So we're thinking that she's a happy person compared to our last guy who looked like he was stressed and tired, that it's summertime, that she's smiling behind her watermelon. So she's having a happy time. These are all inferences, right? She might be having the worst day of her life. And somebody was like, please take a picture and pretend like you're happy. And so she did. But we're working with what we can see, right? And that's the same thing that we do with texts. So let's try one more time. Describe what you guys see in this picture. Okay, so they're walking out to a stadium. How many people do we see? 4. Can we tell boys, girls? Okay, girl and 3 guys. All right. What's going on in the sky? Okay. All right. And what kind of stadium is this? Okay, good. Anything else that we would describe in this picture? It is. It's empty in the stadium. It's a little dark and gloomy. Like there's the way that the perspective is drawn is kind of drawing your eyes to this group of people. All right, now let's interpret. What do we think is actually happening in this photo? What arguments can we make? They're talking. So what could they be talking about? Maybe they've gotten there early and they're trying to figure out where to sit. Okay. What else? Okay, yeah. So maybe they like have some kind of leadership role and they're in here having access to the stadium when there's nobody else there. Anything else? Any other kind of arguments or inferences that you could possibly make here? It does. So what does that make you think about the game? It might get canceled. They might be worried about it. This might be completely all about that. We got a lot of dark imagery here. But we don't know. It could be also just that, some guys who came up to the football stadium and decided to take a picture. And yeah, like maybe they came back to their high school. Okay. Yeah, so there's lots of things that we can kind of interpret, and all of those interpretations are valid as long as we can back them up with the text. Does that make sense? So you guys can make any kind of claims that you want. You might even want to make a claim that you think that Luther is an abusive husband because he's manipulating his wife. He is in control of all the money in the family, that he makes her agree with his decisions. So you could completely twist him into a terrible person with the evidence that you have. Now, he's not necessarily portraying himself as a great person right now, but he's not a bad person either necessarily. But if you wanted to read it that way and come up with evidence to support that, you could even say that he was awfully looking at that lady's legs an awful lot at the travel agency. That might make you make some inferences about him, right? You think he's going to cheat with that lady? Yeah, why was he paying so much attention to her tan and her leg and her eyes? Yes. He commented on her outfit. Yeah. So we could completely make an argument there that there was some stuff going on. So when we describe, like we just did with the description, that's the same process of summarizing. Okay. So it's just kind of looking at it a different perspective. And you're using the facts that you have to create a picture for your reader. You don't include any interpretation or evaluation about what it is that you see. So in a summary, that's all you do. All right. When you analyze and you interpret, it's following the same process that you would for your interpreting a text. So we take that summary as our background, as our basis, right? And then that allows us to make claims, to make arguments, to say that we think that those people are coming back from high school and are out on that football field, okay? So we use what we read and we see to make inferences, like saying that we think maybe Luther is, getting a little too cozy with that travel agent. You construct your meaning based on the facts that you observe. So let's apply this a little. What I want you to do is based on in your Google document, I want you to make 3 analytical statements. These aren't summaries, there's just sentences, okay? 3 analytical statements that are interpretive based on your reading. So if you want to steal the idea that he maybe is cheating on or thinking about cheating on his wife because of his way he is with the travel agent, you could do that. Remember that assertions, so that's what we're doing. We're making some assertions, some analytical statements. They're not factual statements. They're claims or arguments that are based on your interpretation of the author's choices. And then when you're done, you're going to turn in that for your credit for today, and we're going to be done. Okay? Questions? Well, I want you just to make 3 analytical statements. I don't need to have your evidence yet. I just need to see your 3 analytical statements about what you have inferred from the text. Make sense? All right. So get that done and then turn it into me, and then you will be free. Thank you so much. So you might have to look back to the text too, right?